Heartbreaking loss. Morgan succumbs to cancer after brave battle. The Big Brother 27 family was never the same again. What began as a season filled with laughter, competition, and dreams slowly turned into a story of heartbreak that no one could have predicted. Morgan, the heart of the house, had always been the one who made everyone believe in kindness. Her smile carried warmth, her voice had hope, and her presence made the walls of the Big Brother house feel like home. She was the bridge between chaos and calm, the one who held everyone together even when tensions rose. But months after the show ended, something began to change. Morgan had been quieter on social media, missing from family gatherings, and avoiding the camera flashes that once adored her. Friends thought she just needed a break from the spotlight. But the truth was far more painful. She had been diagnosed with cancer. No one was prepared. Not Vince, her husband, who stood by her side through every hospital visit. Not her fellow housemates, who still remembered her as the unstoppable, cheerful Morgan. And not the fans, who had grown to love her energy on screen. The news spread slowly, quietly, through whispers between cast members. At first, there was hope. She's strong. She'll fight this. But behind those hopeful words, there was fear. Every day, her body grew weaker, but her spirit refused to break. She would still send messages saying, "Don't worry about me. Be happy." That was Morgan. Even when pain filled her days, she wanted others to smile. The Big Brother family began visiting her more often. They brought flowers, old photos, and memories of the house. The silly games, the late-night talks, the laughter that now felt like echoes from another life. Each visit ended with hugs that lasted too long, because everyone knew what they didn't want to admit. Time was slipping away. Vince never left her side. He watched her fall asleep holding his hand, whispering words he could barely speak aloud. Promises that she'd never really leave him, that her love would stay even when she couldn't. And when Morgan smiled for the last time, it was soft and peaceful, like the calm after a long storm. The house, once filled with joy, now carried silence. Her friends said it didn't feel like she was gone, just that she had taken all the pain away with her. The Big Brother 27 family lost one of their brightest lights that day. But even in her absence, Morgan's spirit lingered, in every memory, in every photograph, and in every heart that she touched. The days after Morgan's passing felt endless. Time moved, but no one could feel it. The Big Brother 27 family, once so full of energy and life, now found themselves trapped in a quiet sadness that words couldn't describe. Her funeral was small, surrounded by those who truly knew her heart. White roses lined the church walls, her favorite. Vince stood near the front, holding a photo of her from the show, the one where she was laughing with her hair tied up and her eyes glowing. It didn't look like a goodbye picture. It looked like a memory that refused to fade. When the service ended, no one rushed to leave. People stayed, holding each other, sharing stories that brought both tears and laughter. Someone whispered, "She was the kindest person we ever met." Another said, "Morgan never played for fame, she played for love." Vince didn't speak much that day. He didn't need to. His silence said more than any words could. He sat in the empty church long after everyone left, staring at the candle that burned near her photo. Every flicker reminded him of her, strong, beautiful, and gone too soon. In the weeks that followed, the Big Brother 27 cast tried to return to normal life. But every time they posted something, there was a moment of hesitation. How could they smile for the camera when one of their own was missing? Group chats became quiet. Messages like, "Remember when Morgan made us all laugh during that fight?" Or "She would have loved this," appeared randomly, breaking the silence. It was as if everyone was trying to hold on to pieces of her, afraid that forgetting would mean losing her twice. Vince kept her things exactly as they were. Her favorite mug stayed on the counter. Her perfume still sat by the mirror. Some nights, he'd play old videos. Morgan cooking, Morgan laughing, Morgan teasing him during the show. And every time her voice echoed through the room, he'd whisper, "You're still here." The world outside moved on, but for those who loved her, time stayed frozen. The Big Brother house had made them a family, but losing Morgan reminded them what that truly meant. Love, loyalty, and the pain that comes when one of your own is gone. It had been a few months since Morgan's passing, but for Vince, time still stood still. The mornings felt heavier, the nights longer. Every corner of the house carried a memory. Her laughter in the kitchen, her soft humming when she watered the plants, the echo of her voice calling his name. He tried to keep himself busy, but nothing filled the space she left behind. One evening, while sorting through a drawer, he found an old notebook, Morgan's journal from her big brother days. Inside were pages full of dreams, scribbles, and small notes she never shared. The first line read, "No matter how long we stay apart, love will always find a way back." Vince couldn't stop the tears. He sat down and began writing. Not for anyone else, not for the world, but for her. It was a letter she would never read, yet it felt like she was right there listening. "Morgan," he wrote, "I still wake up hoping this is a bad dream. The house is quiet now, too quiet. Sometimes I hear you laugh in my head, and for a second, it feels real again. You taught me what love means. You taught me how to stay kind, even when life isn't. I promised you I'd be strong, but some days I fail at that. Still, I keep going, because that's what you would have wanted." He folded the letter and placed it inside her favorite book, the one she used to read before bed. That night, for the first time in months, he slept peacefully. Meanwhile, the Big Brother 27 family decided to come together again. Not for a reunion episode, not for the cameras, but for Morgan. They gathered in a small garden near her hometown. Each of them brought something that reminded them of her. A photo, a bracelet, a memory. Vince arrived quietly, holding her journal. When everyone stood in a circle, he read a few lines aloud, not from his letter, but from Morgan's own words written years ago inside that same notebook. "Life isn't about how long you live. It's about how deeply you love, and how many hearts you touch along the way." No one spoke after that. Some cried, some smiled through their tears. It was as if Morgan herself had sent a message. A reminder that her story wasn't over. She was still here, in every heart that remembered her. As the sun set behind the trees, Vince looked up at the sky. The wind brushed past his face softly, like a whisper. And in that silence he could almost hear her voice again, gentle, peaceful, saying, "I'm okay." Months passed, but the world still whispered Morgan's name. Her story, the laughter, the love, the courage, became something much bigger than a tragedy. It became a reminder. The Big Brother 27 family began to meet more often. It wasn't planned, but every time they gathered, it felt like Morgan was the reason. Her memory pulled them closer, healed old wounds, and reminded them that family isn't just blood. It's the bond you build through love, struggle, and shared moments. One afternoon, Vince received a message from one of the former castmates. "We should do something for her, something lasting." That single message turned into an idea. Together, they created the Morgan Hope Foundation, a charity dedicated to helping young people fighting cancer. It wasn't about fame or publicity. It was about carrying forward her spirit, the kindness she lived for, the strength she showed, the love she gave. The launch event was quiet, simple, and filled with meaning. There were photos of Morgan smiling, clips from her Big Brother journey, and messages from people she had inspired. Vince stood on the small stage, not as a man broken by loss, but as someone who had learned how to turn pain into purpose. He looked at the crowd and said softly, "Morgan taught us that life isn't measured by years, it's measured by love. This foundation isn't just for her. It's for everyone who's still fighting, for everyone who needs hope when the world feels dark." Tears rolled down faces. There was silence, the kind that doesn't hurt anymore but heals. After the event, Vince walked outside alone. The evening sky was painted in orange and gold. A gentle breeze passed through the trees, and he smiled. Somewhere deep down he felt her, not in grief but in peace. The Big Brother family took a group photo that day, not as reality stars, not as former contestants, but as people forever connected by one girl's light. And as they stood together, someone whispered, "She's still with us." No one disagreed, because she was. In every act of kindness, in every word of love, in every moment of hope, Morgan was still there. Years passed, but the ache never truly faded. It just changed shape. What once was pain became remembrance. What once was loss became gratitude. The Big Brother 27 family moved forward with their lives. New jobs, new families, new dreams. But somehow Morgan was still part of all of it. Her name came up in group calls, in old photo memories, in laughter that suddenly turned to tears. No one ever stopped saying her name. The Morgan Hope Foundation grew beyond what any of them imagined. It started small, but now it was helping families all across the country, offering support, treatment, and love to those facing battles like Morgan once did. Vince often said that every life they touched was like one more heartbeat for her. He still visited her grave on quiet Sunday mornings. Not with tears anymore, but with peace. He'd bring a single sunflower, her favorite, and tell her everything she had missed. How her foundation was changing lives. How her family from Big Brother still stayed connected. How she was still the reason behind so many smiles. Sometimes he would sit there for hours, talking to her as if she were beside him. And in those moments, the wind always seemed to move softly, as if answering back. The Big Brother family never forgot her anniversary. Every year, on the same day, they gathered at the same garden where Vince had once read her words aloud. They shared stories, played her favorite songs, and watched old clips from the show. No one cried like before, they smiled. Because remembering her no longer hurt, it healed. As the sun dipped low one evening, Vince looked at the group. The same people who once competed, argued, laughed, and cried under one roof. Now they were family in the truest sense. He whispered quietly, "She'd be proud of us." And somewhere between the rustle of the trees and the fading light, it felt like she was smiling back. Morgan's story didn't end with her last breath. It lived on, in kindness and courage, and in the love that connected everyone she touched. The world remembered her not as a contestant from a TV show, but as a soul who taught them that even in goodbye, love never dies. And so the Big Brother 27 family walked forward, together, carrying her forever. Because some people don't just leave memories, they leave light. It's been many years now. The world has changed, the show has changed, and life has moved forward. Yet one name still echoes through every conversation about love, strength, and hope: Morgan. The Morgan Hope Foundation had become something extraordinary. What started as a promise between friends had turned into a global movement. Thousands of families had been helped. Children who once had no chance now smiled again, holding hands with parents who whispered Morgan's name in gratitude. In the Big Brother community, her story became legend. Every new season, contestants mentioned her, not because they knew her personally, but because they felt her presence in the show's spirit. "Play with heart," they'd say. That's what Morgan did. Vince, older now, carried himself with quiet pride. His hair had started to gray, but his eyes still held the same softness. The look of a man who had loved deeply and kept that love alive. He often visited the Big Brother set whenever invited, not as a contestant, but as a reminder. The producers would always save a seat for him, front row, beside a small photo of Morgan, framed in white. During one special episode, a reunion marking 10 years since season 27, the lights dimmed, and the screen filled with clips of Morgan laughing, dancing, and smiling. The audience went silent. Then one by one, her friends from that season stood up. No scripts, no lines, just tears and smiles. She taught us what real love looks like. She changed how we see each other. She made this house a home. The crowd stood in quiet applause, not for the show, not for fame, but for her. Later that night, Vince stepped outside alone. The air was calm, the stars bright. He looked up and said softly, "You see what you've done, Morgan? You're still here. You always will be." A gentle breeze brushed across his face, familiar, warm, comforting. He smiled. Back at the Morgan Hope Foundation, a plaque hung on the wall with her favorite quote engraved in gold: "Even when the lights go out, love keeps shining." And beneath it, a small line read, "In memory of Morgan, Big Brother 27, forever our light." Her story had come full circle. She had entered a house as a contestant, but she left the world as a legacy. And though time would go on, the Big Brother 27 family knew one truth would never change. Morgan wasn't just part of their past. She was there forever. Years had passed. The world had changed. But some memories refused to fade. They only grew softer, more sacred, like the sound of a familiar song playing in the distance. Morgan's name was no longer spoken with tears. It was spoken with warmth. Her laughter had become legend. Her kindness a story people passed on to others. And her love, it still lived quietly in the hearts of everyone she had touched. Vince sat on a small bench overlooking the lake, where they once walked together. The sky was painted with gold and pink, the kind of sunset Morgan always loved. He held an old photograph in his hand, one where she was smiling, sunlight glowing behind her. He whispered softly, "You kept your promise, Morgan. You never really left." The wind carried his words away gently, and for a moment, it felt like the world paused. The water shimmered, the trees swayed, and the air grew calm, as if she was there listening. In that quiet moment, Vince closed his eyes. He could hear her laugh again, feel her hand in his, and remember every reason he had ever loved her. There were no tears this time, only peace. Because love like theirs never dies. Across the years, the Big Brother 27 family had built lives of their own. Yet every year, on the same day, they came together to remember the girl who had changed them all. They didn't call it an anniversary anymore. They called it Morgan's Day. They laughed, shared stories, and watched the same old clips that once made them cry. Children who had never met her ran around wearing small pins that said, "Be kind like Morgan." And the world felt a little brighter because of her. Still, when the sun began to set, Vince stood with the group and looked at the sky. "She's watching," he said softly. And maybe she was. Because at that moment, the light seemed to linger a little longer, as if refusing to fade. The sky grew darker, but no one felt the darkness. Because the truth was simple, Morgan's light was never meant to fade. She had come into their lives for a reason, left too soon, but stayed forever. In the stories they told, the kindness they gave, and the love they carried. As the final light of the day disappeared beyond the horizon, a soft whisper seemed to echo through the air, gentle, peaceful, eternal. "Don't cry for me. Just keep living. Keep loving. That's how I'll stay alive." And so they did. The house may have closed its doors, the season may have ended, but Morgan's story, their story, would live on forever. Because some hearts never say goodbye. They just become the stars that guide you home. Crescent moon sparkles,